Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Right. Welcome to the Beyond You podcast. Today's conversation is I'm so excited that, she's here. Today we have joined is Dr. Rachna Buxani Rapuri, right? Which is she's an MED, LMHC, BC, TMH. She's a licensed mental health counselor with over 20 years of experience supporting teens, adults, and families across the US, Dubai, and Cayman Islands. She specializes in anxiety, depression, relationship and family challenges, maternal mental health, eating disorders, and she's certified in narcissistic abuse treatment clinician. You know that is we talk about over here. So I'm so glad that she's here. She's known for her work in narcissistic abuse recovery. She's the author of two books, right? Of the Pint of Patience with Dollop of Love, a children's book on emotional awareness, and Unseen, which we'll be talking further about today, a therapist's reflection of daughter's journey through the narcissistic father's shadow. Right. And so, what I appreciate most about her work is how human and compassionate it feels. It isn't about just blaming or labeling anything, but about helping people understand that their pain is valid, even when it's subtle or never acknowledged. So, I'm really grateful that you're here, and
Thank you.
yeah, so because people really need to be able to hear this. And because it's deeply confusing a lot of the times when nothing looks obvious, but just obviously wrong on the surface, right? They're very charming of front, and so it makes it very challenging, but something just still a lot just hurts underneath. And so a lot of times when the pain is subtle and never named, it can leave people questioning with overreacting or just questioning themselves. So when someone finally hears this kind of pain is real and valid, what tends to shift for them internally, would you say?
So first, I think it takes a long time to get there, Samantha, because and especially if it's a parent. I think even
Yes.
in romantic relationships, but especially when it's a parent, because there is I don't know any child in the world who's going to go around saying, "Oh, you know what, my parent is a narcissist," right? So because children tend to blame themselves that there's
Yes.
something wrong with me. So I think that journey of getting to that place where you can actually say, wow, yeah, this is messed up. My upbringing was messed up, or my parents did this, is a very slow and a very painful journey for every.
Hmm.
But I think when they come to that realization, again, I think it's so many emotions, because there's anger,
Yeah.
right? Why would you do that to me? There's grief, because there's a sense of loss of a childhood that they never had. There's also the ultimate loss of that relationship with the parent, because now they realize that uh, this is not changing. So
Yes.
it's that loss of hope, because
Okay.
then they're probably carrying that hope that, oh, things might change, they might
Right.
change. They're like, someday he'll see me. When that goes away, it's extremely painful. So I think as much as there's that sense of, and I can't say relief, but it's the sense of understanding or compassion towards self, where you see that, okay, this is not you. I think the other part of it is the anger and the grief, and just
Yeah.
all of that, those emotions.
Because it can be really painful when like love and harm exist in the same relationship. So I definitely get that. And that creates like a lot of overlap that would just tell a lot of people is just kind of grieving with the parent that you felt like you should have had versus the one you actually do a lot of the times, which makes it really tough.
Yes,
Because it feels like you're erasing the love or denying that it actually happened. It makes it really confusing.
yes,
So
yes.
yes, well, how do people begin to hold two truths, without feeling guilt and self-doubt for acknowledging the pain?
When they go through that journey of healing, it
Yeah.
becomes easier. It's not easy, but it becomes easier to
Yeah.
hold those two, truths for themselves, because the fact is that there was harm done to you.
Yeah.
And the fact is, there might still be a part of you that feels for your parents, right? Because it's so complex, because your parents are aging. You feel like, okay, you need to be there for them. So there's the child who feels an obligation or a duty towards the parents, but at the same time acknowledging that, okay, what happened there was not okay. So I think it comes with years of going on that healing journey, which starts really with the psychoeducation piece, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to first know what you even have to heal from. So once
Right.
that psychoeducation bit with, hopefully with a therapist, or, listening to things like that, where, wow, yeah,
Mhm.
this is kind of what happened to me. And then you begin to heal, and you decide what kind of a relationship you want to have with your parent, or you don't want to have. Um, but it gives you, the strength to hold those different aspects or the different truths.
I think really people get really caught up on the guilt of it all, right? Of just like holding on to the guilt of like, okay, what are people gonna think and what a um
And
so yeah.
right, because it's not a thing to abandon your parents, or
Right.
to
Exactly.
stop talking to your parents. And listen, I'll tell
Mhm.
you something else, Samantha. I think, what people need to understand is that when someone
Mhm.
makes that decision, that I am going to disengage from a family member, be it a parent, be it a sibling, that person has done a lot of thinking, because it's not an easy decision to make. This is not
Mhm.
somebody on a whim. Your family,
Right.
your parents, are probably the most, like, that's the relationship, that's the most profound relationship any of us are ever going to have in our lives.
Right.
So when somebody decides that I need to walk away from that, it's got to be years of questioning, and should I, shouldn't I, like, is there a way, but there's been a lot of that before that decision's reached.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of allowing the person to honor the fact that it was a long time that you had to go through that decision. I think that's really important what you're saying,
Yes.
that recognizing that because it's not something that just happened one day and you were like, that's it, right? It's like little huge moments
Yes.
consistently.
Absolutely. And you know what? Expecting society to understand, I think it's a very,
Right.
don't even share it. Share it with the people who you know are going to understand your journey, and what you've been through to get to this point. But if someone's not, don't share it with everyone, because society is always going to make you feel guilty, about, oh my gosh, how can you leave your parents? But whatever, but they're your parents. But you have to forget, like, maybe I've tried all that, and that's how I've gotten to this.
But also, when emotional responsibility silence or being the strong one becomes normal, the impact often is unseen, right? That often goes unseen. So over time, survival strategies get mistaken for personality traits, and real needs quietly just disappear. So why do you think these kinds of wounds are so easy to minimize even years later?
You mean by us or by people?
I think I think both, right? Like, I think we learn our own survival strategies that and sometimes by you're right, right? And sometimes it is mostly by us. We think that being guarded is survival, like is a personality trait, that I'm just a guarded person, when really because you had to growing up, right? And certain things. So it's just uh, why does it get minimized, right?
Yes. I don't know if it gets minimized, or it becomes your way of protecting yourself,
Yeah,
right? So,
gotcha.
I mean, like, I don't, I mean, in the case of my client who this book is about,
Mhm.
you know, but everything that she was doing with her husband, with her kids, was survival
Mhm.
mechanisms. But she knew that it wasn't okay. That's why she
Right.
came to me, right? So
Yeah.
she came to see me. She came to fix herself. Like, there's something wrong.
Uh,
You know, something is not right about
mhm.
how I'm reacting to things. So that was an understanding, but it was so, since trauma lives in the body, when there was a trigger, like when her husband was walking away because they were having an argument, and he was walking away because kind of needed time out. For her, it was such a strong trauma reaction that then led to an outburst and all of that. But she knew inherently that, oh my gosh, but he's a nice guy. Why am I doing all this? So I think, I'm not sure they minimize. I feel those survive, like they are survival mechanisms, and for that emotional survival, and that's the way my body knows how to handle trauma. But I think over time, people, who want to, because there are people who are completely fine with the way they are, right? And then they might be a little narcissistic themselves, coming from these family systems. But then there are those who say, oh, what is going on? Like there's something here, and I want to be able to be happy. I don't want to survive. I actually want to live my life. And then those are the ones who reach out for him. So I'm
Yeah.
not minimize as much as it's either the justification of, okay, I'm behaving like that because, but again, those people have not done work on themselves. They have a very limited understanding about self. um or like I said, there might be a little narcissism in them, where they don't want to acknowledge that there's something that they need to work on. But for a lot of people, they don't feel like, okay, even though this is something not okay.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, and definitely in a partner standpoint, but also like coming from a parent to a child, a lot of times, their feelings can get minimized. But you're right, like after a while, definitely have noticed that people definitely go into, okay, this isn't normal, or when they're out the house, a
Yes,
lot of the time. So it depends.
yes. And then if you're a truth seer,
Mhm.
that you're seeing this, you're seeing all the patterns in your family. You may not label for them, you may not, so some people can see it even when they are in the family system. And yes, some see it when they're out of it.
So we just want to be able to let people know that both can be true, right? Like sometimes it takes a bit to be able to see it, but something in you is going to feel like something is off, or why is it that I'm
Yes,
saying how I feel and someone's getting so upset, right? Like why is it that my feelings don't matter in this space?
absolutely. And I'll tell you, Samantha, something. I've always, for the number of years I've worked with people, I've always explained to them that, you have an inner self, a value
Yes.
system, right?
Mhm.
And then you have a life that you're living.
Mhm.
And really, mental health, when people come in to see me, when there is discrepancy between what you know about yourself or what you feel, what that your life should be like, based on your value systems and what your life is actually like, that distance is what mental health is. That's where anxiety lives. That's where depression lives, right? So when they come in, if they're ready to do the work and explore a little bit, it's almost always that I'm doing this, but really, this is who I am. And, bridging that is a lot of work, with us therapists.
Absolutely. Just that self-awareness piece, that's something, there's a discrepancy here, right? And being able to just be kind of aware of that. That's so we're trying to see now, like, at how these wounds end up showing later, because experiences like this, of course, don't stay in childhood, right? They often show up later as self-doubt or people pleasing or constant need for reassurance, especially in close relationships. So, is that something you commonly notice working with emotionally just complex family dynamics in general?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. This idea of people pleasing, in fact, I don't. So I have a client who she was in a narcissistic relationship as a marriage, and now she has two sons, like, and so she came to see me because one of her sons she suspects is a narcissist. Okay. Um, when we started the work, she really came to me for the psychoeducation piece. How do I, Rachna, tell me, how do I deal with my son who's narcissistic, right? Um, but me being me, of course, I started over there, and then I dug a little deeper to her. And she realized that she basically was doing everything to please this narcissistic son of hers, right? So I don't think it only is people pleasing as in on the outside. It could be I am now pleasing as a parent. I'm now even pleased, making sure that I'm pleasing my kids. So it's those wounds are very deep, and of course she came from a very chaotic uh, family system where her father uh, was narcissistic. So and then she had a husband, ex-husband, who was narcissistic. But
Okay.
it's so deep that yes, in addition, and super successful woman, super successful. I mean, she's done amazingly well for herself. She earns big bucks and all of that, and still finds herself completely helpless to pleasing her children.
Think we really talk about that. A lot of people don't, and how it can happen, like, with your kids and how things you're doing with your kids as well, and how that shows up when you're doing so. I think that is so important that you even mention that, because no one really talks about just when it comes to the children acting in that way and noticing on what you're doing there and that people pleasing
Yes.
and doing different things like that, so that makes sense. And so it's so powerful. I'm so glad you said that, because there can be a lot of like realizing that healing doesn't require confrontation or blaming anyone. A lot of times, for many people, it begins much more quietly, just with awareness, right? With compassion and permission to trust what you feel. So, why is that kind of gentle beginning so important for long-term healing?
Okay, so let's talk about that. It's not. uh, I don't think any healing is loud, right? Because it's so internal. You actually have to kind of shift that within to be able to. But we expect, so part of my journey with clients, um, because the other part of it is okay that that should we forgive. Okay, but I can only fully heal when I forgive. No, you don't need to. If you don't
Yes.
want to forgive, please don't forgive.
Mhm.
You can heal.
Right.
In because forgiveness is also for yourself. If you don't need to forgive somebody for yourself, then don't,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
But healing is always going to be an internal thing. And if that process involves calling out what happened and calling out the person who did this to you, absolutely. I think that's very important. And there are parts of healing that also include anger. And I think that anger is very healthy
Right.
in healing. So I think all of that is important. But it's not loud because it's an internal journey. This is not you going and wanting to confront somebody. If you want to, you can, but it doesn't require that. So, really, healing is very personal to the client who's sitting in front of us.
Absolutely. No, it really is, because I think a lot of times that is a misconception that you have to be able to forgive the person and doing those things. And a lot of times done so much where it's right. It's unreasonable to even think about doing something like that. So the fact that you gave people like permission to know that's not the case, to be able to do the work within yourself matters so much. And I think that leads into just kind of allowing to rebuilding that self-trust, because after those types of relationships, it's really hard to start that trust for yourself and rebuild the self-trust to whether getting to something like that again, or trust yourself to know that, right? If it is a son or anything like that, okay, does that change the relationship dynamic, and being okay with that and trusting that it is okay to do those certain things. And like, I know that self trust starts with these like small, steady things that you start to do, and through listening to the body, honoring
Yes.
discomfort, and allowing boundaries to exist without trying to over explain them in any way. So, what helps people feel safe enough to start rebuilding trust in themselves?
I think understanding that, what happened to them, the history of what happened to them, um, that's a huge step in beginning
Right.
build that self-trust. Samantha, what I've noticed is one of the biggest fears that people have, who come from, and little irony, but people who come from traumatic
Yeah.
families is the fear of being alone.
Yes.
Even though they have come from such chaotic and toxic environments, but their biggest fear is one of being alone. So I think, when we talk about self-trust, it's more than just, okay, I need to be okay with the um you know decisions that I make, but
Mhm.
it's really that idea that I'm okay to be alone. If someone
Mm.
doesn't
Mhm.
with me, I'm going to be okay. So
Right.
that's kind of the journey. And the only way, I'm a big fan of IFS. So I'm really going to talk about this
Yes.
because
Uh-huh.
is that's what I use a lot. And I've the good fortune of interviewing Dr. Richard Schwartz for the book.
Oh,
But
awesome.
that journey, in IFS, where you become that person for yourself. I
Mm.
step. You see, because once I can give myself what it is that I'm looking for from others, where I'm scared that if they walk away, I don't know what's going to happen to me. So if I can give that to myself, that is a big, big, big factor to build that trust, or compassion.
Right. So it's a little way of like reparenting a little bit. Is that what kind of what you in some
Yes,
way?
similar. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And, ISS does it beautifully.
Yeah.
When because every aspect of IFS, especially the meditations, and when you go into when access your exiles and stuff, and
Yeah.
heal your exiles. That's kind of how you do it, because you're really giving your little self what he or she needs. But you're the one who's giving it. You're not counting on somebody else through the outside.
Absolutely. That can be so healing. I definitely love and a big fan of IFS work. So I love the fact that I'm just kind of mentioning that and being able to just kind of see and how you can be start to rebuild that trust within yourself by doing that. So I think that is really important by doing it. So what do you hope people feel in their bodies when they're in a space that's meant to support healing? Is it like a certain feeling they should look out for?
I always like my clients to hold on to hope and
Mm.
healing. Um, but within their system, as long as they feel calm and not, they can get to places where they work through activation, but to get to that place of calm within themselves. I think that's beautiful. But yes, holding on to that hope. I always tell them that when you walk out of my office, if you don't feel hopeful, I haven't done my job. So you need to walk out of there knowing that I'm, you know, on the way to healing. I'm on this path.
Yeah. So I'm definitely glad that you're telling people like to look within. I know people say system, but like within your body, right? Like within, but people don't know what system is. Um, yeah, that it's be able to just kind of see exactly just holding on to that hope and just seeing what that looks like. And I know that requires kind of being there for yourself in that way. So that is amazing. And so um if this convert I'm just kind of letting people know if this conversation stirred something, it's worth remembering that awareness isn't a failure, but it's a form of care. Just kind of as we're talking about these things, so seeing the truth gently is often the first real step towards healing, right? The fact that you're recognizing yourself within this and absolutely just knowing that emotional wounds don't need to be dramatic or extreme to be real within that. And so healing begins with the compassion, self trust, permission to acknowledge what was once unseen. Right. And so just overall want to say just thank you for bringing so much just care and clarity into this conversation, letting people know about this. And to everyone listening, take your time with what came up and be gentle with yourself. And so if someone finishes this episode only takes one thing with them, what do you hope it is?
I'm hoping it gives them the courage to, if they found themselves in relationships that have left them questioning, I'm hoping that it gives them the courage to go down that path of healing, because I think it's a very powerful journey. One that I think all of us need to, because all of us can heal from, something, and need to heal from something that we've been through in our lives. So I hope it gives them courage to see, to feel. those wounds and to heal from them.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. Please check out Rachna's book on Unseen. It is so we just were talking a little bit about it.
Yes,
It
I'm going
sounds
to
like it's
push
just
forward to you.
yes,
It's available.
absolutely. And we'll make sure to share information below for people to be able to grab that as well. And where can people find you at?
So my website, so
Okay.
it's drrachnabuxani.com. That's probably the best way, and that has all my contact information. You can follow me on social media. I do a lot of these things, with people,
Yes.
enthusiastic people like you. But I also do my own. I have my own YouTube channel, so you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. So it's Rachna Buxani Mirpuri, my full name, on Instagram and Facebook. But yes, otherwise, my website, drrachnabuxani.com, would give you all the information that you need.
Thank you again, as always, and take care, and everyone else, take care of yourself as you process conversation. And I will catch you next week.
Thank you.